My name is Danny Ortega. I work for the Ortega law firm. I've been practicing law in this community for over 40 years, primarily practicing in the personal injury area. Things like an auto accident, whether it be a semi-tractor trailer truck driver who runs a red light or oversleeps, or somebody else who's just not paying attention. If you get hurt, you're entitled to compensation, and an attorney cannot charge you a fee until that attorney settles your case. One of the really good things about what's happening with Barrio stories and how people are reacting is amazing in cultural ways that I had never imagined. You know, I was raised being very proud of being Chicano. I was born here, I'm a U.S. citizen. But being Mexicano was special. Knowing the language, knowing our culture, crossing the border to visit our family, coming home, them crossing the border to visit us, and everything that surrounded it. Language, food, music, all of those things were of tremendous importance. And I think so for most of us who were raised in those barrios. But I don't know that we appreciated as young people the beauty of all that. We lived it, we loved it, you know, getting together with familia, carne asadas, mariachi, I mean, all of that, right? It was fun. But I didn't see the pride that I'm seeing now about what I was and where I was raised. And so what we're doing that's most important, in addition to promoting culture, promoting language, we're also promoting where we were raised. And if you look back, Jesus, I think we have to be honest with ourselves. And I think that young people have to be honest with themselves. We looked at being raised in the barrios as somewhat inferior, where poor people lived, right? Because I remember going into North Phoenix, you know, where my dad and mom used to go to pay our rent or to pay our house payment, right?
Yeah.
And we used to go into houses that were like, to us, mansions. And they were typically Anglo. And so you would go from your barrio, you know, to do one thing or another in a neighborhood that was predominantly Anglo, you know, higher income. There was a sense of, you know, inferiority. And it was encouraged, by the way, by the schools, by institutions. But we overcame that. Because ultimately, to be ashamed of our barrios was to be ashamed of our parents. Hell no.
Yes.
All right?
That's right.
That was the bottom line when I was being raised. If I was going to be proud of my parents, I had to be proud for what they could provide me, and not what I saw the difference was or how I was made to feel different, right? By schools and by people who had more money. And so what we're doing, Jesus, is we're going back, our generation, who, you know, enjoyed all the benefits of biculturalism and bilingualism, but still had this little sense of, you know, I want to do something more with my life. I want to live in a better place. I want to have a better job. I want to have better education. All lofty and good goals, right? But now that we have that, we're looking back at who we were and feeling a sense of pride. That inferiority that we sensed and we were taught to believe was not a good thing. Didn't keep us from being proud of who we were, but it had an effect. So today, those of us who don't want to admit where we were raised in the barrio because that's where the poor people lived, or that was on the other side of the tracks, or that was in South Phoenix, right? Are looking at ourselves and saying, man, were we fortunate to have been raised in those barrios? And let me tell you why I think that's extremely important. There are new barrios being created today. I can tell you that I've seen the new neighborhoods that are being constructed and built in South Phoenix, in Glendale, in Sunny Slope, in Avondale, all over the place. New homes are going up. And I remember when that barrio was being built when I was a kid, right? Or when that barrio was alive when I was a kid. These will be the barrios of the future. Maryville is an excellent example. I mean, that was middle class, right? That was a different class of people that could afford those homes. And by the way, a lot of them Latinos. Many of them Anglo who ultimately moved in because too many Latinos were moving in, right? And so it's what we call white flight. Barrios were ultimately, or a lot of them were as a result of white flight. And we happened to fit the economic norm of being able to afford houses in those barrios. Now, there are a lot of Mexicanos, or Latinos, Hispanics, whatever you want to call yourself, who will say, no, my parents bought this house when it was new. Well, that se vale. I'm not saying that Latinos didn't buy, but at the end of the day, my whole point is that today there are barrios of the future. Because ultimately, neighborhoods, people moving in and out of neighborhoods, income, education, success, all of us want something better for ourselves and for our children. And then that's where we get in a situation where people who have less income end up in those neighborhoods, right? And create new barrios. And what Barrio Stories does, I think, is creates a whole new sense of pride in who we are, like we did from a cultural standpoint, but more so from a foundation standpoint about where we lived. And so my hope is that someday there'll be Barrio Stories 40 years from now, where people not only were proud of their culture, they're proud of their language and their customs, but are also going to be proud of where they were raised, like we are today. But we're starting young people at a younger age to be proud of what their parents could provide them. Today, if you're proud that you are Mexicano or Latino, and if you're proud of your parents, then you're going to be proud of where you were raised and what your parents were able to give you. And that is what barrios are all about. And there will be future barrios. Now, all of us, me included, my parents included, my brothers and sisters included, also had the desire to succeed, to get a better education, to get better jobs, to be able to provide more for our children. And we have to continue to concentrate on that. I was fortunate that I'm the son, and my brothers and sisters are the sons and daughters of immigrants. And the pride that we hold in being Mexicanos comes from our parents. And we had to speak Spanish at home, and we had to speak English at school. That's what made us bilingual, and that's what made us bicultural. What the future has to hold, I think, is for all of us to begin to have that sense of pride in our community and in our culture, to make the effort to make sure that the children of the future are also bilingual. Well, I think that if you look at Barrio Stories, you're going to see a lot of people, especially those who post quite a bit, about the leadership quality that they bring to the community. Okay? I mean, I'm seeing leaders in these Barrio Stories that I've never seen. So somehow something interests us in a way that you say, hey, look, I want to be a part of this, but not only do I want to be a part, but can I lead, right? By the way, leaders don't make themselves. It's the community that they serve that make them leaders. I always say to young people, if you want to be up front, do it. If it's for a good cause, if it's for your family, it's for the community, it's for where you work or for a business, whatever it is, be upfront. But you're never going to get further if you don't have the people to put you there. And you're only as good as the people who put you there. I'm only as good as where my parents put me. I'm only as good as where my teachers put me. I'm only as good as where my clients put me. I didn't do this by myself. And so leaders, the word leader is used in 100 different ways, but leaders evolve from a need, whether it be economic, educational, cultural. Barrio Stories, in my opinion, represents all of that. They are a leader in promoting pride. They are a leader in promoting our communities. They are a leader in us taking pride in things that we may not have thought we should take pride in the past. Okay? I mean, come on, look. If you look at the lowrider community, there was a time when parents in that time say, I don't want you hanging out with those lowriders, and no, you're not going to do that to your car. There are a bunch of this or there are a bunch of that. No. You know, that was a culture that was positive. And there were a lot of people that were attracted to it because it was positive. We today are reliving that because it was positive. And Barrio Stories has brought that forth. Now, there's a lot of things that Barrio Stories has done that have been amazing. But when you want to talk about leadership, the people who created Barrio Stories are true leaders. They're leaders in us taking pride about who we are, where we were raised, right? And what we've contributed to this community.
Hi, this is Irma from Arizona Barrio Stories, and today we have a special story with Mario Moreno. Welcome, Mario.
Thank you.
How are you?
Pretty good, I think.
Could you tell me what barrio you were from?
Well, mostly from the west side, from around Carl Hayden, but I was born in Tolleson, Arizona, but I moved to a cattle ranch soon after that and moved around quite a bit, but I ended up on the west side over by Carl Hayden.
And your parents, where were your parents from?
They're both born here in America. My dad in Arizona, my mom in Texas.
Is there someone in your family that inspired you to play music?
Oh gosh, yeah, my tios played, and music was a big part of both sides of my family. My mother's side, and of course my dad's side. My dad played. All my tios played guitars and sang, and it was always a part of the family.
So when you had get-togethers,
everybody played, and that was a big deal.
And about how old were you when you picked up your first instrument, and what was your first instrument?
I started playing guitar when I was about 12, 13 years old.
Did you dabble in any other instruments?
I can play a little bit of accordion, and I can play all the various string instruments, you know. I have a banjo and all that stuff, you know. Anything that has strings on it, I can play pretty much.
Not very many people play accordion, so that's quite unique.
Yeah, and you know, my grandmother gave me accordion when I was a little kid, and I had that one for a long time. I don't know what happened to it. You know, they were kind of it was anti-music, you know, when you're a teenager. So I think I sold it, but eventually I bought another one, and so yeah, so I play accordion too.
When did you realize that you wanted to do music professionally?
About the first day I went to high school, I decided that school was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a musician, and school didn't seem like that big of a deal.
You weren't in the band, were you?
No, you mean like a school band?
Yeah,
oh,
school
no,
band.
No, not at all. I played in the rock and roll bands from school, but not in the school itself. No, not at all.
How long have you played professionally?
I think I started playing professionally I was about 17 or 18 years old when I first started, you know, making, back then I guess you'd call it decent money, you know, okay money.
And solo or with other people?
With groups, different groups. Whoever needed a guitar player, that's who I played with, you know.
Me, I'll do it.
Oh yeah, you know, journeyman, you know, always looking for a gig, looking for a place to play.
I understand you were inducted into the Arizona Blues Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
What year did that happen? And tell me about that.
That was in '98, and I think I was the first Chicano to get elected into the Hall of Fame. I think they needed another color in there, so I don't know. That's probably not true, but it sounds good. But I'd been playing I started playing in a blues band by accident, so I had to take a crash course on all these different styles of blues: Chicago blues, Texas blues, East Coast, West Coast, and I got okay. I got proficient in it enough, and it was a really good learning experience for me. I learned another genre of music that I'd always appreciated it, but I never played it, and so that was good.
Tell me about the Varmints.
Okay, the Varmints were back in the early '80s, and they were it was a rockabilly band. There was three of us, a couple of gabachos and me, and at that time there was only about 3 rockabilly bands in town. At the prominent, they were kind of well known, and it was an uphill battle because it wasn't the most popular music. It had a real small following, really loyal following, but it was really small. And had a lot of fun. We did a lot of good stuff.
Could you tell the audience what is rockabilly?
Well, rockabilly is kind of like a mixture between country western, rock and roll, some swing, some jazz, a little bit of everything thrown in there. But it was like the Elvis stuff and Jerry Lee Lewis and all that era of music, early 50s.
And at that time, were there very many Chicanos into rockabilly?
I don't think so. There's always been a small pocket of them. I mean, there still is to this day. It's a subculture of a subculture. They're still out there. They've always been there. They never went away. I mean, from Richie Valens to right now, there's always been Chicanos in rock and roll.
Do you have your own band now?
Right now I'm playing with my cousins and the Morenos, and I got another band it's a rockabilly band, the Ramblers, and with all the COVID thing going around, so we haven't been playing much at all. Kind of waiting for things to get better so we can get out there and do what we do.
And your cousins are your backup?
Yeah.
Or?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, we're all together. We're all equal in the band. We're just like a band of brothers, I guess you'd say.
Tell me about a CD. Do you have a CD out, I understand?
The Morenos has a CD out that we did a couple of years ago, and I know Richard told me that where you could get it, and I don't remember now. But I have, I have a box full at the house, and if you guys leave my phone number with them, you can call me up and I'll sell you one.
Awesome.
2 for 1.
Are you working on another CD?
Yeah, we're trying to get some more stuff together, and actually I got like different projects going on. Trying to get a rockabilly CD out, and then doing the Moreno CD. Then I have a granddaughter that's a great trumpet player, and I'm trying to get her to come out to Phoenix and do some recordings, do some stuff with her.
Awesome. We understand you're going to be playing music for us in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
La Morenita?
Yep, La Morenita. Morenita Mia, actually.
Morenita Mia.
Right.
Awesome. What are some other songs that you have on your CD?
Well, all of them are songs that we've written. There's no covers at all. We tried to strive to do our own thing. There's a lot of beautiful music in the world, but we strive to make our little part of the world, little section of our own, and say, well, hey, we did this, That's our own piece of Chicano-ness.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us today. Like we tell everybody every week, everybody has a story. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
We
Thank you for having me
appreciate
here.
it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in today to Arizona Barrio's Stories. In a minute, you're going to hear something very special. Don't forget, your story is special too. Thank you.
te quiero y no te puedo olvidar. Mis amigos dicen pon cuidado, tu marido me va a matar. No es porito mexicano, yo no le temo el morir. Yo de perder la vida, solo Dios perdón mi sufrir. Ay, morena, morena mía, ¿qué me va a pasar? Tu marido se dé cuenta, a mí me va a matar. Ay, morena, morena mía, yo nunca te olvidaré. Mi vida no vale nada si no te puedo yo querer. Soy como pájaro en jaula, prisionero de tu amor. Mi alma, mi pensamiento, como daga mi corazón. Qué tristeza me acompaña estar tan lejos de ti. Mi vida no vale nada si no te puedo yo seguir. Ay, morena, morena mía, ¿qué me va a pasar? Tu marido se da cuenta, a mí me va a matar. Ay, morena, morena mía, yo nunca te olvidaré. Mi vida no vale nada si no te puedo yo querer. Hey. Que sé te quiero y no te puedo olvidar. Mis amigos dicen pon cuidado, tu marido me va a matar. Soy porito mexicano, yo no le temo el morir. Y yo de perder la vida, solo Dios perdón mi sufrir. Ay, morena, morena mía, ¿qué me va a pasar? Tu marido se da cuenta, a mí me va a matar. Ay, morena, morena mía, yo nunca te olvidaré.
You sit around hoping, crying. You say you even thinking about dying? Well, before you do anything rash, dig this. Everybody plays the fool sometimes. There's no exception to the rule. Listen, baby, it may be factual, may be cruel. I ain't lying. Everybody plays the fool. Falling in wanna know your name. Ooh, you look so good. I wanna know your name. What's your name, baby? I'd love you if I could.